Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, if you felt like the last month, maybe month and a half, has just been nonstop phone announcements,
Mm-hmm.
well, you're not wrong.
Not at all. June was pretty intense, wasn't it, for new phones?
Incredibly intense. And our predictions for those launches, we were hitting like 95% accuracy, which felt pretty good.
Yeah, we did okay there.
But honestly, you might want to brace yourself because July looks like it's going to be an absolute downpour, a rain of phones, you could say.
Uh-huh. Yeah, deluge is right. And it's a real mix, too. We're seeing some that look like, just fantastic value for money.
Right.
And then others that seem genuinely disruptive, like real game changers. And all the big names are involved. Samsung, Nothing, Realme, Moto, Infinix, Vivo. They're all lining something up.
Exactly. So our mission today really is to give you the ultimate shortcut. We want you to be totally informed about what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
We're pulling out the most important bits of info, the surprising details about these upcoming phones.
Basically cut through the noise.
Yeah, exactly. Give you a really clear picture of what's actually new, what's genuinely exciting in, the mobile world right now. Okay, let's dive in.
All right, so first up, maybe Samsung. Their foldable future seems to be unfolding pretty quickly.
I'm personally really curious about this whole thin foldable idea. What are we actually hearing about this new Fold 7 being slimmer? I mean, how much slimmer are we talking?
Well, yeah, the Galaxy Z Fold 7, expected globally and in India around July 9th. The big buzzword is definitely slimmer, specifically slimmer than the Z Fold 6 when it's unfolded.
Okay, interesting.
Making these things thinner without wrecking the battery or making them fragile, that's always the trick. It's a tough engineering challenge.
Absolutely. That makes a huge difference, just carrying it around, using it day to day. And then the camera, I heard this wild rumor, 200 megapixels on a Fold.
Yeah.
What does that even mean for a foldable user? Is it just marketing or is there a real benefit there?
That's the fascinating part, isn't it? A 200 megapixel camera, potentially?
Yeah.
That would be a first for a Samsung foldable.
Wow.
And look, it's not just a bigger number. It hints at a serious step up in, computational photography for these devices. It could mean way better detail, maybe much better low-light shots through pixel binning.
Ah, right, combining pixels.
Exactly. And more flexibility for cropping without losing quality. It really makes you wonder, is Samsung finally going all in on the camera for their top-tier foldable? And what does that change about how people use it?
That's a great question. And beyond the camera, we're expecting the Snapdragon 8 Gen 4.
Yep, the latest flagship chip from Qualcomm. Top performance, great for gaming, AI stuff, everything.
And Galaxy AI features integrated, obviously.
Of course. Price-wise,
yeah,
probably looking around the 1.5 lakh mark, still very premium.
Makes sense.
And launching right alongside it, we expect the Galaxy Z Flip 7.
The clamshell.
The clamshell, yeah.
Yeah.
Also expected with that Snapdragon 8 Gen 4. Camera setup looks like a 50 megapixel main plus 12 megapixel, probably ultra-wide. And a 10 megapixel selfie camera. Again, Galaxy AI features baked in translations, photo editing, that kind of thing.
Got it. Okay, so from Samsung's, super high-end foldables, let's maybe pivot to Nothing, a brand that's really all about design.
Absolutely. And the hype around the Nothing Phone 3 is significant. Confirmed launch, global, in India, July 1st. So very soon.
And the biggest rumor, the one that's got everyone talking,
is the glyph light.
Right.
The signature feature. The rumor is it might be gone.
Gone. Replaced by what? A dot matrix thing.
Yeah, some kind of simpler dot matrix design, which, makes you ask, why? Why would Nothing, a brand practically built on that transparent look and the glyph interface, ditch it?
It's a huge part of their identity.
Exactly. Could be cost. Maybe a push for even more minimalism. Or maybe they want to integrate something new that the glyph just didn't allow for. Hard to say.
That's a really interesting strategic gamble, if true. Okay, so design aside, what about the specs?
Specs look pretty solid. A 6.7-inch AMOLED display, so good colors, deep blacks. Snapdragon 8's Gen 4 chipset, that's the slightly stepped-down version of the Gen 4, but still very powerful.
Right, still high-end.
Definitely handle games, demanding apps, no problem. A 50-megapixel triple cameras setup is rumored, so some versatility there.
Yeah.
And a big battery, 5,500 milliamp. Should be easily all-day power.
Yeah, and the price, this is where it gets interesting too, right?
Yeah, leaks are suggesting maybe 50,000 euro, 60,000, which puts it kind of in that premium mid-range space. It'll be interesting to see the final number.
Definitely. Okay, shifting gears again. Let's look at the mid-range because there's a real battle shaping up there, isn't there? Realme, OnePlus. They're both pushing hard with value and
Ah,
specs.
big time. So for Realme, we're expecting the Realme 15 series,
Mm-hmm.
probably landing in July, maybe towards the end. We should get more concrete info early in the month.
And what are the whispers saying about this series?
Well, nothing's confirmed yet, but the potential highlights are pretty exciting. We're talking maybe a 6.7-inch AMOLED display with 120 hertz refresh rate.
Nice and smooth.
Yeah. And possibly a 50-megapixel triple camera, but with OIS optical image stabilization. That's key for sharper shots, steadier video, especially when it's darker. Plus, maybe a Sony sensor in there, which usually means good quality.
Okay, OIS and a Sony sensor in that price range would be strong. And the battery.
Get this rumored to be a massive 6,000 mAh unit
Wow.
and paired with 120 W charging. Super fast charge.
That's incredible. Power for days, basically, and charges in minutes.
Yeah.
And all expected under 30,000 outlets.
That's the expectation, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very, very strong value proposition if those specs hold up.
Absolutely. Okay, then there's OnePlus and their Nord lineup. 2 devices coming.
2 devices. First, the OnePlus Nord 5, that's confirmed for July 8th.
Yeah.
And the design language they're using is, well, so simple, so elegant. Sounds like they're aiming for a clean, premium feel.
Interesting. What makes it so simple, so elegant? Does it fit the usual Nord vibe?
From what we're hearing, it's maybe a more refined, minimalist look, potentially moving away from some of the brighter, more playful designs of past Nords, going for something a bit more mature, perhaps.
Okay. And specs?
Packed. A big 6.83-inch AMOLED display, the Snapdragon 8's Gen 3 chipset again, that high-performance tier just below the absolute top. Very capable.
Yeah.
For cameras, a 50-megapixel Sony LT sensor. Those LT sensors are usually great, especially in low light. Plus an 8-megapixel ultra-wide.
And the battery. I heard something crazy about the battery.
Yeah, a huge 6,700 milliamp battery.
Yeah.
That should easily give you multi-day use, like seriously good battery life.
That's massive.
And maybe even a metal frame, which would definitely add to that premium feel. And again, expect under Euro 1000. Compelling stuff.
Very compelling. Okay, and the second,
That's the OnePlus Nord CE 5G. This one's targeting a slightly lower price, expected under
the
$25,000.
CCE line.
Exactly. You get a 6.7-inch Full HD plus AMOLED display. The Dimensity 8350 chip, another solid mid-range performer for MediaTek. 50-megapixel dual camera setup, 16-megapixel selfie cam, and still pretty fast 80W charging.
Still very respectable specs, but the battery on this one is the real headline, right?
Oh, yeah. The showstopper for the Nord CE 5G. A colossal 7,100 milliamp battery.
7,100.
Yeah, that makes it the biggest battery ever put in a OnePlus phone, period.
Wow. Okay, forget binge watching on a flight. That might last the whole trip. That's genuinely a game changer for people prioritizing battery life.
It really is. Okay, moving on. Motorola, they seem to be really pushing in the mid-range too, but with a focus on, like, durability.
Yeah, it seems that way. First up, the Motorola G96 5G, expected early July, maybe before the 10th. Sounds like an upgrade to the G85.
That's the thinking, yeah. Next generation of that line.
Okay, what's it packing?
Rumors point to a 6.67-inch PLED display, but with 144 hertz refresh rate and that 3D curve on the edges. So super smooth, immersive visuals.
Around 44 hertz is nice.
Yeah. Snapdragon 7's Gen 2, inside good mid-range chip for everyday stuff, bit of gaming. A 50 plus 8 megapixel dual camera, again with OIS, 5,500 milliamp battery, and Gorilla Glass 5 protection, all expected under $20,000.
Solid package for under 20K. And then there's another one, the G86 PO.
Right, the G86 PO. That one's expected more towards the end of July, and this is where the durability focus really kicks in.
How so?
It's boasting IP68, IP69 certification, so highly dust and water resistant, can handle submersion, even hot water jets, according to IP69. Plus, military-grade certification for toughness and Gorilla Glass 7i protection. This thing sounds built like a tank.
Okay, that's serious protection. Great for anyone who's maybe a bit clumsy with their phone or works outdoors.
Exactly, and it doesn't skimp elsewhere either. A 6.7-inch PLED display, but with 1.5K resolution and an incredible 4,500 nits peak brightness.
4,500 nits. That's insanely bright. You could use that thing as a spotlight.
Pretty much. Excellent outdoor visibility, even in direct sun. And a massive 620 milliamp battery to power it all. Also expected under 20,000 rel.
Wow, Moto's bringing some serious contenders in that budget segment. Okay, who's next? Vivo. They seem to have a really varied lineup coming.
Very varied, yeah. From premium foldables down to budget options. So first, the Vivo X Fold 5. This already launched in China, but we're expecting the India launch mid-July.
Right, this is their competitor to the Samsung Fold. high-end stuff.
Definitely premium. Big 8-inch AMOLED display when unfolded, a versatile 50-megapixel triple camera system, and strong IP68, IP65 water and dust resistance. Price, certainly going to be north of 1 lakh.
Makes sense for a flagship foldable, but then there's something completely different from Vivo, this mini phone.
Ah, yes, the Vivo X200 FE. This is the one I'm really curious about.
Me too. It just sounds so appealing. The leaks call it mind-blowing for Vivo fans, and it taps into that whole kind of re-emerging trend for smaller phones, right?
Exactly. With phones getting bigger and bigger, a genuinely compact but still powerful option feels like a breath of fresh air. We're expecting it maybe this second or third week of July. And it promises to be, yeah, a compact phone, but with a really powerful camera setup.
How powerful are we talking?
Okay, get this. For a compact phone, a triple camera setup featuring Zeiss optics, a 50-megapixel main, a 50-megapixel telephoto, which is amazing for zoom on a small phone, and an 8-megapixel ultra-wide.
Zeiss telephoto on a mini phone. Wow.
Yeah, plus a 6.31-inch flat 1.5K LTPO screen. Flat screen lovers rejoice. And LTPO means it adjusts the refresh rate to save power.
Nice.
And despite the size, it apparently packs a 6,500 milliamp battery. How they fit that in, I don't know. And the Dimensity 9300 plus chipset, which is absolutely top-tier performance.
That is an incredible amount of tech packed into a small body. What's the price looking like?
Expected around 50,000 euros, 60,000.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, just maybe, dipping under 50K with launch offers.
Still premium, but for those specs in that form factor, very tempting. Okay, anything else from Vivo?
Just quickly, the Vivo Y400, expected towards the end of July. This is the standard version of the Y400 Pro that already launched. Key things, 5,500 milliwatt battery, 6.7-inch AMOLED, probably around the 20,000 mark.
Gotcha. A solid mid-ranger. Okay, one more brand to cover. Infinix.
Last one, yeah. A strong budget contender.
Hmm?
The Infinix Hot 65G, expected around July 11th or 12th.
And what's the story here? It looks like great value.
Absolutely. For under 15,000 is the expectation. You get a 6.74-inch LCD display, but it's HD plus with a 120 Hz refresh rate. That high refresh rate is pretty great at this price.
Yeah, unusual for the segment.
Dimensity 705, chipset inside, reliable for everyday tasks. 6 GBs RAM, 128 GBs of storage, which is decent. 50-megapixel dual camera, 8-megapixel selfie, standard 5,000 milliamp battery.
Wow.
Really solid specs for under 15K.
Definitely sounds like a strong budget option.
So yeah, as you can hear, July is just, it's absolutely packed.
It really is.
We've covered everything from, the absolute cutting-edge foldables like the Z Fold 7 and the X Fold 5.
Right, the really high-end stuff.
To really interesting, powerful, compact phones like that Vivo X200 FE, tapping into that small phone desire.
Which I'm very excited about.
And then all the way down to these really robust, value-packed budget options from Motorola and Infinix. So hopefully this deep dive is giving you a really clear, sort of concise map of what to expect.
Absolutely. It helps make sense of the chaos. Seeing this huge wave of launches covering basically every feature, every price point. It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
How so?
Like, what does all this activity really tell us about where the smartphone market is heading? Are manufacturers just trying to fill every single tiny niche they can find? Or are there bigger trends cutting across everything? Like, are things like AI or maybe super long battery life or maybe these advanced camera systems, are those becoming the standard priorities we expect on all phones now, no matter the price?
That's a really interesting question. Is it diversification or is it convergence around certain key features?
Exactly. Definitely something to keep an eye on as all these phones actually hit the shelves in July.